Hi there, business owner. Are you looking to improve your business knowledge? Do you want to see behind the scenes of successful businesses? And more importantly, are you looking to build a better business in just 15 minutes each week? If so, you're in the right place. Welcome to the 3Bs podcast. Hello and welcome back to another episode of the 3Bs podcast, your go-to 15 minutes of motivation, education and inspiration to help you build a better business. And here we are, episode 101. Thank you so much for everyone who sent me an email, who commented on our social media posts, or who rated and reviewed. With a lot that came in over the last week, and that was really, really great. So thank you so much for your support of the first 100 episodes, and let's carry on to the rest of them. But before we get into today's episode, I wanted to say that there was an overarching theme on the reviews and the emails that I had this week, in that people don't know this podcast exists. 3 times this week, I've had somebody come and say to me on social media, on DM on LinkedIn, I'm like, I've just found your podcast, and that's incredible. But I've been here 100 episodes. Like, where have you been the other 99 weeks? Clearly, I'm a very well-kept secret. So if I can ask one huge favor from you listeners and those watching on YouTube this week, and that is to write a post on your socials or tag us in your favorite thing about the 3Bs podcast. What is the best piece of advice you've heard on here? What's the best guest you've seen on here? Just make more business owners aware. Tag us in it so I can see, because it really helps to reach more business owners. And I love the fact that I'm a well-kept secret, but my goal is to help as many business owners as possible. So I need to get the podcast out there. As per usual, what I'd planned for episode 101 is not what's coming for episode 101, because this week my work-life balance has been utterly chaotic. So if I'm experiencing it, it means business owners out there like you're probably experiencing it too. Now, this week we've had sickness of children. I had an event in Tobacco Dock on Tuesday, and I am not in the business tomorrow. I am going to do something really exciting I can't tell you about, but I'm sure you'll know about at some point soon. So when this podcast goes out on Thursday, I won't be in the office. I will probably be on a train for most of it. Same on Friday. I think we're due to get back around 1:20 Friday morning. So won't be in the office on Friday either. We'll work from home in the afternoon. But that work-life balance is what it's all about, right? We built businesses either because we were unemployable. I mean, I'm so unemployable with my children and my chaotic life as it is. We're either unemployable, or we have those big goals and aspirations to build these businesses to run flexibly around our commitments, around our families, around our passions. Hopefully, when you're listening to this 15 minutes, you're doing something else. Maybe you're on the commute, or you're walking the dog, or doing the school run. And it's a great way to just slot in those 15 minutes. And everyone talks about work-life balance, but let's be real, it doesn't actually exist when you're running a business. You can't truly clock out. You can't do a 9-5, and you can't get up and do 2.5 hours of yoga and journaling and meditation and then do the kids' school run and then go into the office every single day. That's not how life works. And there's often spanners that are thrown in the works that throw you off course, even when you do plan out all these timings and things. Is work-life balance just a well-marketed fantasy? I'm starting to think it is. So this week's episode is all about me breaking down the truth about what I feel work-life balance is, showing what is working for me, what hasn't, what this crazy week has looked like for me, so that you can feel not alone in this journey, and how you can create a vision or a version of work-life balance actually fits your life, instead of trying to chase that impossible standard that just doesn't exist. So let's get into it. My plan, as I said last week when I recorded episode 100, is that I wanted to start recording on a Monday to give myself more time. Monday morning rolls around, 5 a.m, my daughter's in my bedroom, she's been sick. Great. That means she's off school. Not ideal. So immediately, that plan that I'd made to try and make my life easier and have a better work-life balance was thrown out of the window. Now, I am very lucky that I have built a business I can work from home 99% of the time. And I even considered recording this podcast on Monday at home to still get it done on the day I needed to. But actually, it was not going to happen. And my responsibilities to caring for my daughter far outweigh recording this podcast. I love you all dearly, but my family will always come first. That is why I built businesses that work around them. And I hope that you are setting your boundaries too as business owners. Balance isn't a fixed state. It's about flexibility, and what's working this week might not work next week. So hopefully on Monday, I can get in the office and get it recorded as planned and have slightly more control over my week. But things change in business all the time. It's not predictable. Even with clients. So I will get an absolute influx of client requests and sales calls, and my diary packed out. And then some seasons, so now we've hit March, so January, self-assessment's out the window. February is when all the software vendors get in touch, knowing that accountants are so busy in January in the practice. And then March is sort of where we start to ramp back up again before we take on all the new clients in April. And those external factors like family responsibilities and financial goals will also impact your availability. Like there's some weeks and some months where I am putting in 50, 60, 70-hour weeks as an entrepreneur. It's not sustainable long term, but sometimes it has to happen. If there's something big going on behind the scenes. January was a lot of overtime writing the book Finance for Life. So it makes sense that your balance is not going to be the same, and you're going to need to adapt and improvise as your business grows and as unexpected fires crop up, or when you're launching, or whatever it may be. The other side of this is that if you're passionate about your business, it's always going to be a part of your life. It's not just a job. It's not something you clock out of at 5 p.m. It's not like that. Now, my fiance is in an employed role. He has a fixed salary. He has fixed hours, and he goes in Monday to Friday, which is amazing for me to be able to be more unpredictable with salary, with income, with my working hours, so that I can fit in around school holidays and things. But we will sit together at dinner, and I'll tell him something that happened at work today, or I'll tell him about an email I got, or I'll tell him about a conversation that I've had, or a plan I've got for the next 6 months, or whatever it may be. And 9 times out of 10, he will look at me and go, can we just talk about something that's not work? And I'm like, no, because it's my passion. I absolutely adore everything about all my businesses because I love them. I don't feel like I go to work. I feel like I come here and get to make a real difference. And it's something that's really fulfilling for me, whether it's recording a podcast, whether it's doing a set of accounts or doing a client meeting and building them a web shop, whatever it is, I enjoy my job even when it's hard. And that's why as business owners, we shouldn't be feeling guilty for not achieving that daily work-life split and getting it all perfect. I think we should go for like a work-life integration. We should go for a work-life balance in finding ways to both coexist with both. So sometimes work takes over, sometimes life takes over, and neither one should be permanent. You should find that harmony and find what works for you in your business. Also, if you're a business owner and you're just starting out and you're just finding this podcast, episode 101, do like, rate and review, subscribe on YouTube and click that notification bell. I'd be really grateful for that. But if you're just starting out, it's likely you're going to be working longer hours, you're building systems, you're making those mistakes, your trial and error. That's what happens when you start a business. Balance might simply just mean squeezing in breaks where you can, taking those odd days here and there. It means a Saturday shift in the office sometimes. If you're working from your kitchen table, it might be that weekend you can't go to that meal out, that date day. The amount of times I've cancelled a date day a couple of hours before we're supposed to go out because there's something that I've needed to do with work, especially in the beginning. ABCS UK is over 3 years old now, and we've sort of moved out of that starting out phase and moving much more into that scaling up. So we're at that point where I know I can't do it at all. And actually the work-life balance means delegating and letting go of control in certain areas, which as a business owner is so scary. That first hire I've talked about time and time again. It's scary letting go and letting them do things because with all the training, with all the workflows and systems and processes, they're never going to do it exactly the same as you are. They're going to have other ideas to you, some which are going to be better than yours, some that are not going to be better than yours. And having that confidence to delegate and let go is how that work-life balance starts to shift, and that you then have a little bit more lifetime than work time. And you do start setting those boundaries of like, no, I'm not working this weekend. We're going out as a family or going on holiday, whatever it may be. And then when you move into that established business where you've got those solid systems and processes in place, a reliable team that can work actually without you a lot more, balance becomes much more achievable. You can take that day off without everything falling apart. You can take that week off. You can go to that event, which that's where this week has sort of gone to pot. From us, a really northern saying. I had an event yesterday with QuickBooks at Tobacco Dock that I needed to do to better my business. Yesterday morning, I was at the train station in -3, getting the train into London because I didn't have cover for the afternoon school run, only the early one. So I only did 4 hours of the event. And that also can be a compromise that you make in your business when you're starting out, is getting out there, making those connections, networking, but you don't have to be there the whole day. So I snuck off and made an Irish exit just after lunch, got home for the school run, but still got all the impact and the motivation and the inspiration from those morning speakers and meeting with my peers, and had some really great conversations. So watch this space. I can't wait to share what's coming. But it's important to stop comparing your balance to somebody else's. So when you are looking at people on social media, remember that's a highlight reel. Very few people are as open and honest as I like to be with all the mistakes and the things that go wrong in business. So they look like they've got it all together, but actually they've probably just done a 70-hour shift and they haven't seen their husband or their fiance or their partner for about 6 weeks. Because that's sometimes what it takes when you're building a business. Or if they're a CEO with multiple companies, with teams of 20, 30, 100 members of staff, and you're on your own and you're just getting past that starting out and just starting to scale up with your first employee, your first freelancer, don't compare your work-life balance to theirs. Your work-life balance is yours. And the one thing I say to my clients all the time when we're forward planning is, I ask them where they want to be in 5 years in their business, and they never, ever think of it as where their children will be or how old their parents will be in 5 years, because that dictates what work-life balance you need to have. 5 years ago, my children were both in primary school. I had to hold their hand every step of the way, 24/7. And that's how it was. Whereas now, one's in secondary school, one's almost in secondary school. The school runs, I don't do a 9 a.m. school anymore. I'm there until they leave, but they walk themselves to school. They walk themselves home from school. I have a much more work-life balance. I just need to make sure I'm home before they get home. So my work-life balance right now is, she just nipped to London for 4 hours yesterday. Yeah, I did. Because I can. My fiance did this morning school run so I can get up early and go to London and do the event or half of the event and then come home. Whatever your balance is right now, the level of freedom that someone has in their business is often the result of what's happened behind the scenes. Remember that they've already been through their struggles. Definitely, if they're further along in their journey than you are, you're not alone. And those hours you've put in, there's many others doing the same thing too. So your work-life balance needs to be what you want it to be. And I think that's really important. So 5 really quick tips on how I manage my work-life balance and how I advise you as business owners to create your version of balance that works for you. So number 1 is set your own rules. So what does success look like for you is a question I always ask my clients. So some people only want a 4-day work week. Others love what they do and they're happy to work weekends. Some business owners, especially if they're co-parenting. So my children go to their dads nearly every weekend. So me coming in and doing a Saturday shift is not the end of the world, because actually I don't have my children. I'm not missing out on that children time. As long as I get to see my fiance in the evening and on the Sunday, then I'll quite happily come in and do a Saturday shift. So set your rules and remember that it's okay to change. So right now, what works for you might not work for you in 6 months. What do you want to do? What does the business require you to do? And find something that sort of ticks all of those boxes. Number 2, time blocking for priorities. This is something that has taken me a really long time to get right. Schedule non-negotiable time for business and non-negotiable time for your personal life. Whether that is a daily walk, dinner with your family, creative time, put it in your calendar like a business meeting. Put some of those non-negotiable times in. If you have to cancel them last minute because of something, hopefully they won't hate you. I hope Steve doesn't hate me when I do it all the time. I'm getting better at it. I'm trying. Number 3 is delegate and automate. So if your business relies on you doing every single thing in your business, you'll never have the balance. When you're a startup, I understand it's scary to take people on, but identify tasks that can be outsourced, automated, or eliminated entirely. Now, what I mean by that is, if you have to send an email at a certain time, put the automations in. Come in on a Friday, schedule all your emails or all your social media posts for the week ahead, automated to go out at the relevant times. Very often, I will work once the children have gone to bed for an hour and schedule those emails to go out at 8 o'clock the next morning or 9 o'clock the next morning during working hours. So your clients and the recipients of those emails wouldn't know that you wrote them at 10 p.m. last night, especially when you're trying to set boundaries with client communication. So 4thly, learn to say no. So not every opportunity is worth your time. Protecting your energy is really important for balance personally and in business. So don't say yes to every single event. I've had to turn down multiple events in my industry this year because right now my focus is on my business and the personal stuff, and I just need to get my head down and get some work done. So I've got something quite exciting launching in the summer that I need to finalize and sort of tweak now, which means saying no to those events. And finally, accept that some weeks will be unbalanced. Instead of chasing perfect balance every single day, just aim for balance over time. Some weeks you'll plan and it'll work. Some weeks you'll plan and it'll work and it won't. Does work-life balance truly exist for business owners? Well, yeah, it does, but not in the way that we've been taught to believe. I don't think it's about that perfect split between work and life every single day. It's about creating flexibility in your business that fits you, making intentional choices on both the business and the personal side, and recognizing that balance does change over time, and ensuring that those around you understand that balance changes over time too. If, like me, you've been feeling overwhelmed by the pressure of having it all together, getting that work-life balance perfect, just remember that you're doing better than you think. And I'd really love to hear from you and let me know what work-life balance looks like for you and what you'd like it to look like a year from now. Tag the 3Bs podcast in all your social media posts. Join the conversation. This community is really important to me, and I want to help you all build better businesses. If you found today's episode useful, please do subscribe, leave a review, share it with another business owner. If you know a business owner that is maybe in your network who is stressed out because they are working 70, 80 hours a week with no time for themselves, send them this episode and hopefully they'll start to find a bit more work-life balance in their business and you can find it in yours too. I will see you next week. Bye. And that brings us to the end of another episode of the 3Bs podcast. Thank you so much for listening. Please connect with us on social media. Like, rate and review wherever you are listening to this podcast so that I can help more business owners build a better business. See you next week.